All right, here we are on. You guys are all watching yourselves, aren't you? Here we go. We're on Treasure Island, chapter 33. Did you guys find what page that's on?
143.
143. What page is it in the black book there, John?
236.
236. 236. We start with the fall of a chieftain. We just ended yesterday where everybody runs up onto everyone runs up to where the treasure's supposed to be buried, and there's a big hole. Everything is empty. All there are boxes, or the crates, the sides of crates that were holding something laying in the bottom, in a broken pickaxe. You okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm turning.
It's okay. It's okay. There never was such an overturn in this world. Each of these 6 men was as though he had been struck. Like, oh! But with Silver, the blow passed almost instantly. All of a sudden, whose side is Long John Silver on?
The pirates. No, the good guys.
Every thought of his soul had been full stretch, set like a racer on that money. Well, he was brought up in a single second, dead. And he kept his head, found his temper, and changed his plan before the others had time to realize the disappointment. Looks like I'm going with plan B, boys. Jim, get a little closer to me, huh? Jim, take that. Stand by for trouble. And he had passed me a double-barreled pistol. At the same time, he began quietly moving northward, and in a few steps had put the hollow between us 2 and the other 5. There's the hole in the ground. Everybody was standing there. Some of the guys were on the left, and he's moved us to the right to get away from them, and now they're on the other side of the hole. Then he looked at me and nodded, as much to say, "Here's a narrow corner." And indeed, I thought it was, like, this is probably the best place we can go. His looks were now quite friendly, and I was so revolted at these constant changes that I could not forbear the whispering, "So, you've changed sides again?" It's like, you've changed again? Come on, man. There was no time left for him to answer, though. The buccaneers, with oaths and cries, you know, every time they say oaths, it means they're cussing, right? Just so you know. Began to leap, one after another, into the pit and dig with their fingers, throwing the boards aside as they did so. Morgan found a piece of gold. He held it up with a perfect spout of oaths, like, "Oh yeah, this is the one thing I came all this way for." There was a 2-guinea piece, and it went from hand to hand among them for a quarter of a minute, like, it really used to be here. The gold was real, and it was really here. 2 guineas! Roared Mary, shaking at its head. "That's your 700,000 pounds, is it? You're the man for bargains, ain't you? You're him that never bungled nothing. You un-headed lubber." It's like, you liar. You've been playing us the whole time. He's been playing everybody the whole time. "Dig away, boys," said Silver with the coolest insolence. "You'll find some pig nuts, I shouldn't wonder." "Pig nuts!" repeated Mary in a scream. "Mates, do you hear that? I tell you now, that there, he knew it all along. Look him in the face. Oh, you'll see it there, right? Oh, Mary, standing for Captain again? You're pushing, lad, to be sure." But this time everyone was entirely in Mary's favor. Everybody agrees. Long John, they're looking up at him from the bottom of the pit. Like, you have double-crossed us for the last time. They began to scramble out of the excavation, darting furious glances behind them. One thing I observed, which looked well for us, they all got up on the opposite side of the hill. They all climbed in, and now they're all on the other side, standing up. Well, there we stood, 2 on one side, 5 on the other. The pit between us. And nobody screwed up high enough to offer the first blow. It's like a standoff. Silver never moved. He watched him, very upright on his crutch, and looked as cool as I ever saw him. He was brave, no mistake. At last Mary seemed to think a speech might help matters. "Mates, there's two of them alone there. One's a cripple that brought us all here and blundered us down to this. The other's that cub. I mean to have the hearts of. Now, mates!" He was raising his arm and his voice and plainly meant to lead a charge, but then 3 musket shots flashed out of the thicket. Mary tumbled head foremost into the excavation. The man with the bandage spun round like a teetotum and fell all his length upon his side, where he lay dead, but still twitching. And the other 3 turned and ran for it with all their might. Before you could wink, Long John had fired 2 barrels of a pistol into the struggling Mary. And then, as the man rolled his eyes up at him in the last agony, "George, reckon I settled you." At the same moment, the doctor, Gray, and Ben Gunn joined us with smoking muskets from among the nutmeg trees. "Forward! Double quick, my lads, we must head 'em off at the boats." And we set off at a great pace, sometimes plunging through the bushes, through the chests. What happened?
2 guys died.
Yeah, 2 guys are gone. George Mary, he gone. And this guy we were calling John, he's gone. So, there goes Morgan, Dick, and pirate number 11.
Now we have no clue of the...
We have no idea who he
Morgan's
is.
dead too.
What?
Morgan's alive.
No, Morgan, Dick, and number 11.
Dick?
Uh-huh. Yep, he's alive. He's running off.
Oh.
He survived.
Morgan's alive. Okay.
Yep. So, Long John Silver, he was on their side. He was on the pirate side to the very last second. And he came over here. And
So Ben Gunn's on the good side.
Ben Gunn is on the good side. We've got Ben Gunn. Now Long John Silver is helping out Jim. There's Gray. All right?
That could be the pirates.
I tell you, but Silver was anxious to keep up with us. The work that man went through, leaping on his crutch till all the muscles in his chest were fit to burst, was work no sound man ever equaled. And so thinks the doctor. As it was, he was already 30 yards behind us on the verge of strangling when he reached the brow of the slope. "Doctor, see there? No hurry." Sure enough, there was no hurry. In a more open part of the plateau, we could see the 3 survivors still running in the same direction as they had started, right for Mizzenmast Hill. We were already between them and the boats, and so we 4 sat down to breathe, while Long John, mopping his face, came slowly up after him. Hit freeze. There we go. So, the boats, they had brought up here and had parked them, right? Well, the guys were running down this way. And they had shot at them up here at the 3 trees, right? And so it's like, hey, the boats are over here, up here. They're running way down the other direction. Just sit, let's just sit and let them go. They're not getting away. I just was showing you where they went. You don't have to draw anything. Thank you kindly, Doctor. You came in about the neck, I guess, for me and Hawkins. And so it is you, Ben Gunn, he added. You're a nice one to be sure. Ben Gunn, I am, replied the Maroon, wriggling like an eel in his embarrassment. And how do, Miss Silver? Pretty well, I think. He says you. It's like, you want to thank me, don't you? Ben, to think as you've done me, like you got me, buddy. Wouldn't be here without you. The doctor sent back Gray for one of the pickaxes, deserted in their flight by the mutineers. And then, as we proceeded leisurely downhill to where the boats were lying, related in a few words what had taken place. It was a story that profoundly interested Silver. And Ben Gunn, the half-idiot Maroon, was the hero from beginning to end. Ben, in his long, lonely wanderings about the island, had found the skeleton. It was he that had rifled it, or had stolen everything off of it. He had found the treasure. He had dug it up. It was the half of his pickaxe that lay broken in the excavation. He had carried it on his back in many weary journeys from the foot of the tall pine to a cave he had on the two-pointed hill at the northeast angle of the island. He had gone back and forth by himself. Let's think about, what did they say you need to do to survive? What did the Mythbusters say? Find water, find food, find shelter, make fire, stay focused,
And make clothes.
and then find a way to escape. He was able to stay focused by carrying the treasure little by little back and forth from here for a few miles to there. And there it had lain in stored in safety 2 months before the arrival of the Hispaniola. It had been for 2 months, that hole had been empty. That's why there was grass growing in the bottom of it. When the doctor had wormed this secret from him on the afternoon of the attack, and when next morning he saw the anchorage deserted, he had gone to Silver, given him the chart, which was now useless, given him the stores, for Ben Gunn's cave was well supplied with goat's meat, salted by himself, given anything and everything to get a chance of moving in safety from the stockade to the two-pointed hill, there to be clear of malaria and keep guard upon the money. Remember, Dr. Livesey had gotten up and run off with some Parmesan cheese, right? He got from Ben Gunn, "Oh, you've got the treasure? You have food? Let's go to your place. Let's go party at your joint, because ours is not good.
We have cheese.
And we have more cheese for you." Goes down, says, "Hey, Silver, we'll trade you. We really do want to save our lives. You were right with the flag of the truce. We just can't fight anymore. But we'll do if you promise to leave us alone and I come and take care of you guys because you're injured and sick. Just let us get away and we'll just trust you." All right? And so here's the map. You can have the stockade and everything. We're going to go set up camp somewhere else, okay? Long John Silver was desperate. His guys were tired, hungry, didn't have anything. And it's like, obviously, they took the truce that I offered them. We scared them. We got them. Yeah.
I thought there was 3 locations of treasure.
There are.
Did
Because
they-
remember at the beginning of the story, what does it say?
There's 3 X's or something.
Right? And it says, we don't tell you where the island is because there's still treasure that hasn't been taken. So Ben Gunn only found the bulk of the treasure. There's still treasure on the island that they can go get. Good question. As for you, Jim, it went to my heart, but I did what I thought was best for those who had stood by their duty. And if you were not one of these, whose fault was it? It's like, hey, I did what we could to save our own skins. You ran off and ruined your own self. I didn't like it, but it was just the best I could do. But it turned out that Jim helped him all the more by not being with him. That morning, finding that I was to be involved in the horrid disappointment he had prepared for the mutineers, he had run all the way to the cave, and leaving Squire to guard the captain, had taken Gray and the Maroon and started making the diagonal across the island. So Dr. Livesey, this morning, ran all the way back, got the guys, told them what's up, and they were running this way. But who's super fast? Ben Gunn, remember, he's like super caveman, jumpy. So, however, he saw that our party is the start of him, and Ben Gunn, being fleet of foot, had been dispatched in front to do his best alone. Then it had occurred to him to work upon the superstitions of his former shipmates, and he was so successful that Gray and the doctor had come up and were already ambushed before the arrival of the treasure hunters. Everybody got into position. That's why he was like, it was Ben Gunn, Darby McGraw! And he knew he could freak them out and make them sit and pause for a little bit. So the whole time that they're sticking there doing nothing, these guys were running up to the treasure area and getting ready to set up to shoot. The squall that he had mentioned. Look out for firefights. I'm going to be shooting at guys once you get close to the treasure. "Oh," said Silver, "we're fortunate for me that I had Hawkins here. You would have let old John be cut to bits. Never given it a thought, eh, doctor? It's like, that's why you told me to keep Jim close. You keep him, nobody was going to shoot Jim or take a risk. So if you want to survive, you stay close to Jim. And that's what he did. Not a thought, Dr. Livesey, like, yeah, I'd have shot you on the spot. If you wouldn't have been standing by Jim, I would have taken you out. And by this time, we had reached the gigs, or those boats, the boats that they left. They're walking up this way. They got to the boats, and the doctor with the pickaxe demolished one of them, destroys one. So, go ahead and X out. You don't have the two boats up here. Draw them and cross one of them out. Dr. Livesey crushes one so that those guys can't use it.
I don't think I have those today.
You can draw them if you want.
I don't know what
By this time, we had reached the, this was a run, wait a minute. He demolished one of them, and we got all aboard and set out to go round by sea for the North Inlet. We decided to go out this way, row up past the Hispaniola. This was a run of 8 or 9 miles. Silver, though he was almost killed already with fatigue, was set to an oar like the rest of us, and we were soon skimming swiftly over a smooth sea. Soon we passed out of the straits and doubled the southeast corner of the island, round which 4 days ago we had towed the Hispaniola. As we passed the two-pointed hill, so we go past the Hispaniola, and I see the two-pointed hill. We could see the black mouth of Ben Gunn's cave, and a figure standing by it leaning on a musket. And it was the squire. We waved a handkerchief and gave him 3 cheers, hooray! Which the voice of Silver joined as heartily as any. 3 miles farther, just inside the mouth of the North Inlet, what should we meet but the Hispaniola cruising by herself? The last flood had lifted her, and there had been much wind or a strong tide, as in the southern anchorage, we would never have found her more, or found her stranded beyond help. As it was, there was little amiss beyond the wreck on the mainsail. The Hispaniola had floated out to sea. All right, the Hispaniola had floated out to sea. We all pulled round again to Rum Cove, the nearest point from Ben Gunn's treasure house. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I jumped too far. As it was, there was little amiss beyond the wreck of the mainsail. Another anchor was got ready and dropped in 1.5 fathoms of water. We all pulled round again to Rum Cove, the nearest point for Ben Gunn's treasure house. And then Gray single-handedly returned with the gig to the Hispaniola, where he was to pass the night on guard. So they went out, they got the Hispaniola, brought it back, and dropped anchor. So now the Hispaniola's up here, and Abraham Gray is going to go take a nap, and he's going to go guard the boat by himself.
Now we got a fortress.
Now we have a fortress, and we have a boat. And Ben Gunn has found a way to escape. That's how you survive on an island. A gentle slope ran up from the beach to the entrance of the cave. At the top, the squire met us. To me, he was cordial and kind, saying nothing of my escapade, either in way of blame or of praise. He didn't thank me for doing all the good things, but he also didn't criticize me for doing it without permission. At Silver's polite salute, he was somewhat flushed. Here comes Long John Silver. Hey there, squire. Oh yeah, by the way, you're the one I wanted to kill. Remember in the apple barrel? Make sure I get to kill the squire, please. John Silver, you're a prodigious villain and impostor. A monstrous impostor, sir. I am told I'm not to prosecute you. Well, then I will not, but the dead men, sir, hang about your neck like millstones. Little allusion to the Bible there, that if you do something bad to somebody, it's better that they tie a big stone around your neck and throw you in the ocean. Know that you're going to pay for them in hell, buddy. Thank you kindly, sir, replied Long John, again saluting, like, oh, you're more than right. I'm going to hell, buddy. You're right. I dare you to thank me, cried the squire. It's a gross dereliction of my duty. Stand back. I don't like it that I have to treat you right. And then you think, Long John's like, maybe I will take you out anyway, Mr. Squire. But thereupon we all entered the cave. It was a large, airy place with a little spring and a pool of clear water overhung with ferns. The floor was sand. Before a big fire lay Captain Smollett in a far corner, only duskily flickered over by the blaze. In a far corner, only duskily flickered over by the blaze, I beheld a great heap of coins and quadrilaterals built of bars of gold. Quadrilaterals, anybody tell me what that is?
Square. Or anything
A
with
shape
four
with
square.
sides.
A shape with 4 sides.
Yeah. What do gold bars look like?
Trap.
They look like
They're-
parallelograms, trapezoids. Right, trapezoids, 2 sides, lettered parallel. That was Flint's treasure we had come so far to seek. And that cost already the lives of 17 men from the Hispaniola. How many it had cost in the amassing, what blood and sorrow, what good ships scuttled on the deep, what brave men walking the plank blindfold, what shot of cannon, what shame and lies and cruelty perhaps no man alive could tell. Yet there were still 3 upon that island, Silver, Old Morgan, and Ben Gunn, who had each taken his share in these crimes, as each had hoped in vain to share in the reward. Come in, Jim. You're a good boy in your line, Jim. And I don't think you and me will go to sea again. You're too much of the born favorite for me. Is that you, John Silver? What brings you here, man? Come back to do my duty, sir. Ah, said the captain. That's all he said. What a supper I had of it that night with all my friends around me. What a meal it was, with Ben Gunn's salted goat, some delicacies, and a bottle of old wine from the Hispaniola. Never, I am sure, were people gayer or happier. And there was Silver, sitting back almost out of the firelight, but eating heartily, prompt to spring forward when anything was wanted, even joining quietly in our laughter. The same bland, polite, obsequious seaman of the voyage out. Long John is back to being who we met at the Spyglass. And last, the next morning we fell early to work for the transportation of this great mass of gold near a mile by land to the beach, and thence 3 miles by boat to the Hispaniola, was a considerable task for so small a number of workmen. The 3 fellows still abroad upon the island did not greatly trouble us. A single sentry on the shoulder of the hill was sufficient to ensure against any sudden onslaught, and we thought besides, they had had more than enough of fighting. 1 guy's going to stand guard. We don't think these guys really want to do anything else. Therefore, the work was pushed on briskly. Gray and Ben Gunn came and went with the boat, while the rest during their absences piled treasure on the beach. So, we've got guys going back and forth down the cave here and dropping stuff on the island. Then the other guys take it to the boat and come back. All right? So they go take it to the beach and then go back and go get more. Go take it to the beach, and the guys come to the beach, load up a jolly boat, take it out to the boat, load it up, come back. By that time, somebody's left more on the beach to pick up and take. 2 of the bars slung in a rope's end would make a good load for a grown man. One that he was glad to walk slowly with. The gold was so heavy that they'd use a rope, tie it around this side, and then tie it around on this one so that it would be even, and you'd just be like, oh, carrying 45-pound weights for a mile, and then you're like, oh, I'm glad I got that off. Go back and get another load. It was a strange collection, kind of like Billy Bones's hoard for the diversity of coinage, but so much larger and so much more varied than I never had more pleasure than in sorting these. This was so cool. I've got this huge pile of coins from countries all over the world. English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Georges, Louises, doubloons, or Louis I should say, doubloons, and double guineas, and mortars, and sequins. The pictures of all the kings of Europe for the last 100 years. Strange oriental pieces stamped with what looked like wisps of string or bits of spider webs. Round pieces, square pieces, pieces bored through the middle, as if to wear them around your neck. Nearly every variety of money in the world must, I think, have found a place in that collection. For number, I'm sure they were like autumn leaves, so that my back ached with stooping and my fingers with sorting them out. It was like trying to sort a pile of leaves. Day after day, this work went on. By every evening, a fortune had been stowed aboard, but there was another fortune waiting for the morrow. And all this time, we heard nothing of the 3 surviving mutineers. Heaven forgive them, 'tis the mutineers. Oh wait, I'm sorry. At last, I think, it was on the 3rd night, the doctor and I were strolling on the shoulder of the hill, where it overlooks the lowlands of the isle, when from out of the thick darkness below, the wind brought us a noise between shrieking and singing. It was only a snatch that reared our ears, followed by the former silence. Heaven forgive them, 'tis the mutineers. All drunk, sir, struck in the voice of Silver from behind us. Silver, I should say, was allowed his entire liberty, in spite of daily rebuffs, seemed to regard himself once more as quite a privileged and friendly dependent. It's like he's treating himself like he's been our best friend the whole time. You killed like 6 guys. Indeed, it was remarkable how well he bore these slights, and with what unwearying politeness he kept on trying to integrate himself with all. Yet, I think none treated him better than a dog. Everybody's like, get out of here, Long John. Unless it was Ben Gunn, who was still terribly afraid of his old quartermaster. Or myself, who had really something to thank him for. Although, for that matter, I suppose I had reason to think even worse of him than anybody else, for I had seen him meditating a fresh treachery upon the plateau. So, everybody's treating Long John Silver like, we're just, you saved Jim, that's the only reason you're here. Ben Gunn's like, I don't want to bother him. And Jim is like, I just like this guy. He's amazing. But yet I should hate him because I knew he was ready to kill all of us. But now that he needs us, he's back to being a nice guy. I should hate him more than anybody. But for some reason, I like him. But that's explaining why the doctor says this. It was pretty gruffly the doctor answered him. Drunk or raving. What you are, sir, and precious little odds which to you and me. It's like, who cares which one it is, whether they're sick with the malaria or whether they're drunk, who cares? It doesn't matter to us. I suppose you would hardly ask me to call you a humane man, returned the doctor with a sneer, and so my feelings may surprise you, Master Silver. But if I were sure they were raving, as I'm morally certain one, at least of them, is down there with fever, I should leave this camp, and at whatever risk to my own carcass, take them the assistance of my skill. Hey, you may be a cold-blooded killer, but I'm a doctor, and I know one of them, Dick, right, is sick. I should go down there and help him. Ask your pardon, sir. You'd be very wrong, quoth Silver. You lose your precious life, and you may learn of that. I'm on your side now, hand in glove, and I shouldn't wish for you to see the party weaken, let alone yourself, seeing as I know what I owes you. But these men down there, they couldn't keep their word, no. Not supposing they wished to, and what's more, they couldn't believe as you could. They would not, they would kill you immediately. No, you're the man to keep your word, we know that. Yeah, you keep your word, don't you, buddy? Well, that was about the last news we had of the pirates. Only once we heard a gunshot a great way off and supposed them to be hunting. A council was held, and it was decided that we must desert them on the island. To the huge glee, I must say, of Ben Gunn, and with the strong approval of Gray. We left a good stock of powder and shot, the bulk of the salt goat, a few medicines, and some of the other necessary tools, clothing, a spare sail, a fathom or 2 of rope, and by the particular desire of the doctor, a handsome present of tobacco. We're going to leave them a whole bunch of stuff. It's not a big pile of duct tape, but there's a bunch of stuff that they might need to survive until a boat maybe shows up. That was about our last doing on the island. Before that, we had got the treasure stowed and had shipped enough water and the remainder of the goat meat in case of any distress. And at last, one fine morning, we weighed anchor, which was about all we could manage, and stood out of the North Inlet, the same colors flying that the captain had flown and fought under at the Palisade. The 3 fellows must have been watching us closer than we thought, for as soon as we had proved. For coming through the Narrows, we had to lie very near the southern point, and there we saw all 3 of them kneeling together on a spit of sand, with their arms raised in supplication, We were getting ready to leave, and we look on the beach, and there they are like, no, don't leave, please. It all went to our hearts, I think, to leave them in that wretched state. But we could not risk another mutiny, and to take them home for the gibbet would have been a cruel sort of kindness. We'll bring you on board so that you can go hang. The doctor hailed them and told them, we left you everything we could, and you could find them over here. But they continued to call us by name. Abraham, Long John, Jim, you know me, and appealed to us, for God's sake, be merciful. Don't leave him there to die in such a place. At last, seeing the ship still bore on her course, and was now swiftly drawing out of earshot, one of them, I know not which, leapt to his feet with a hoarse cry, ah! Whipped up a musket to his shoulder, and a shot whistled over Silver's head and went through the mainsail. It's like, oh, yikes, they're shooting at us. After that, we kept under the cover of the bulwark, and when next I looked out, they disappeared from the spit, and the spit itself had almost melted out of sight in the growing distance. That was, at least, the end of that, and before noon, to my inexpressible joy, the highest rock of Treasure Island had sunk into the blue, round sea. We were so short of men that everyone on board had to bear a hand, only the captain lying on a mattress in the stern and giving orders, for though he was greatly recovered, he was still in want of quiet. We laid her head for the nearest port in Spanish America, for we could not risk the voyage home without fresh hands. And as it was, with baffling winds and a couple of fresh gales, we were all worn out before we reached it. So they decided to go to somewhere in South America or Central America, maybe near Mexico. It was just at sundown when we cast out anchor in a most beautiful landing gulf, and were immediately surrounded by the shore boats full of Negroes, Mexican Indians, half-bloods, selling fruits and vegetables, and offering to dive for bits of money. The sight of so many humored faces, especially the blacks, we've got a little bit of a moment here to talk about 150 years ago. There was, when this was written in America, we had just gotten rid of slavery. And if this is written in the 1700s, there was slavery. And so black people, they're not African Americans, they're actually from Africa. They were probably slaves for people at this time in the book. And this would have been how he would have described people. The taste of the tropical fruits, and above all, the lights that began to shine in the town, made a most charming contrast to our dark and bloody sojourn on the island. Wow, this is completely different than what we were just experiencing. Everybody's happy, everybody's throwing a party, there's people to talk to. And the doctor and the squire, taking me along with them, went ashore to pass the early part of the night. Here they met the captain of an English man of war and fell in talk with him. Went on board his ship, and in short had so agreeable time that day was breaking when we came alongside the Hispaniola. I was like, man, it was we had so much fun, we lost track of time. When we came back, Ben Gunn was on the deck alone. And as soon as we came on board, he began with wonderful contortions to make a confession. Silver was gone. The maroon had connived at his escape in a shore boat some hours ago, and he now assured us he had only done so to preserve our lives. I let him go to save you guys, which would have certainly been forfeit if that seafarer man with one leg had stayed aboard. But this was not all. The sea cook had not gone empty-handed. He had cut through the bulkhead unobserved and removed one of the sacks of coin, worth perhaps 300 or 400 guineas, to help him on his further wanderings. There's 700,000 pounds. He took like 2,000. Like, you know what? I'm going to take 2,000 and go, which is worth about $15,000. I think we're all pleased to be so cheaply quit of him. He only took what he could carry. Well, to make a long story short, it's a little late for that, Jim. We got a few hands on board, made a good cruise home, and the Hispaniola reached Bristol just as Mr. Blandley was beginning to think of fitting out her consort. We got home just in time to tell Blandley, don't leave. 5 men only of those who had sailed returned with her. Drink and the devil had done for the rest, with a vengeance. Although, to be sure, we were not quite in so bad a case as that other ship that people sing about. But one man of a crew alive, what put to sea, we're 75. All of us had an ample share of the treasure, and used it wisely or foolishly according to our natures. Captain Smollett is now retired from the sea. Gray not only saved his money, but being suddenly smit with the desire to rise, also studied his profession. He's now mate and part owner of a fine full-rigged ship. Married besides, and the father of a family. Abraham Gray, pretty good guy. As for Ben Gunn, he got £1,000, which he spent or lost in 3 weeks. Or to be exact, 19 days. Harry was back banking on the 20th. Then he was given a lodge to keep, exactly as he had feared upon the island. And he still lives, a great favorite, though something of a butt, with the country boys, and a notable singer in church on Sundays and Saints' days. He's still a pirate. He still doesn't know how to live without wasting everything. Of Silver we heard no more. That formidable seafaring man with one leg has at last gone clean out of my life. But I dare say he met his old negress, and perhaps still lives in comfort with her and Captain Flint. It is to be hoped so, I suppose, for his chances of comfort in another world are very small. The bar silver and the arms still lie. Like Noah said, there's still silver there on the island. For all that I know, where Flint buried them. Certainly they still lie there for me. Oxen and wain ropes would not bring me back to that accursed island. And the worst dreams that I ever have, when I hear the surf booming about its coasts, or start upright in bed, with the sharp voice of Captain Flint still ringing in my ears. Beaches all right, beaches all right, beaches all right.
Can I say bye-bye?